on this stage at the Future Education Summit is going to be delivered by a distinguished officer with a commendable track record. He was the former Chief Secretary of the Government of Kerala, a man who barely needs any introduction for Malayalis. He has made several significant contributions to the policies of the state and the actions that followed it. And he's coming on stage with a very relevant and exciting question, quite an open-ended question. You might have seen it in the schedule. Vadis, where are we going? And he is coming on stage to address that question with a lot of enthusiasm and passion in front of this audience. He's going to point to a renaissance that we require in education. So it's a really exciting question that's going to be addressed on stage. Vadis, we need a renaissance in education, being delivered by former Chief Secretary of Government of Kerala, Mr. Tom Jose IAS. It's a pleasure and privilege to present him to you. He's right here. He'll be on stage soon. Ladies and gentlemen, students, let's put our hands together to welcome Mr. Tom Jose IAS. Welcome, sir. Would you like to use the hand?
Distinguished guests, participants, thank you very much. I am delighted to be with all of you this morning to discuss about the education sector of Kerala and India. I would, to begin with, like to lay down a perspective of the present education landscape in our country, in our state. Of course, this would be a little subjective, as you know, and then discuss about the future, the characteristics, the features of it in the future, and also perhaps suggest a way forward that I feel that we might want to choose. Friends, I think the only university that can claim to have produced a Nobel Prize winner in India in the last 50 years is Presidency College, Calcutta University. Dr. Amartya Sen, Nobel laureate, who won the Nobel Prize for Economics in 1998, studied there. The first and the last Indian Nobel Prize winner in fundamental sciences was C.V. Raman in 1930 for physics. The first Indian to win the Nobel Prize, Rabindranath Tagore, won it for literature. Mother Teresa for peace in 1979, and Kailash Sharma for peace in 2040. There are, of course, some Indian-born, Indian-origin scientists, but they won their Nobel Prizes from United States and UK. Hargobind Khurana in medicine in 1968. Subramaniam Chandrasekhar in physics in 1983, again USA. Venkataraman Ramakrishnan, chemistry, 2008 from UK. Abhijit Banerjee, 2019, again USA. Including persons of Indian origin, we have 9 Nobel laureates since Nobel Prizes were instituted in 1901. No university in Kerala has produced a Nobel laureate. In contrast and in comparison, USA has over 420 Nobel laureates. 71% of the Nobel Prizes have gone to Americans, and 29% of that are immigrants from other countries. Harvard University leads with 121 Nobels, followed by Cambridge with 104, Chicago 98, Columbia 87, Berkeley 83, MIT 77, the list goes on. Out of the 10 top universities, 8 are American, 2 are English. I think we should ask why. In those universities, the basic criteria, what they follow is basic research, fundamental research. Fundamental research has made the United States a scientific powerhouse. Whereas for us, for our universities, zero focus on basic research. Excessive politics and excessive bureaucracy, being a former bureaucrat, I should admit to that. And limited facilities in the universities for research. Okay, let's turn to another arena where universities excel, sports. Since 1900, India has produced 10 Olympic gold medals. 3 were from British India and 7 from independent India. The last 2 golds were Abhinav Bindra, rifle shooting in Beijing Olympics 2008, Neeraj Chopra, javelin throw, Tokyo 2020. No university in Kerala has produced an Olympic gold medalist so far. In contrast, in Paris Olympics alone, Stanford produced 12 gold medals. Harvard contributed 3. All the 40 gold medals taken by America were from multiple universities. They contributed to that. Now look at another scenario, employment. According to the periodic labor force survey, that is PLFS, it is done by the Ministry of Statistics, Government of India, from June 2023 to July 2024, Kerala has an youth unemployment rate of 29.9%. And this is 47.1% for females and 19.3% for males. And of course, these statistics are contested. The state government contested this. According to the India Employment Report by ILO, in collaboration with ISD, 31% of the educated males in Kerala are unemployed. This is significantly higher for females. And another study says that the graduate unemployment rate is 23% in Kerala. Now, people might dispute the figures because it is a highly politically charged thing, because unemployment is an issue that affects the society as whole, and it affects politics. So there is always a tendency to dispute the figures. You might also have different ideas about it. However, whatever statistics we present, one thing is pretty much clear, that Kerala's jobless rate is significantly higher than the national average and the world average. And even then, when our people are employed, what do they get? Some years back, when the nurses' strike was going on, I was a labor secretary at that time. So I went incognito to a well-known hospital here in Cochin and asked a nurse. She works for 10 hours a day. And I asked her, how much do you get? 15,000 rupees after 5 years of experience. In Kerala, engineers sometimes start at 8,000, 10,000 rupees a month. Interns at law firms, they get about, after graduation, they get about 12,000, maybe 15,000 rupees. Sales girls get about 8 to 10,000 rupees. And mind you, these are all graduates, they are all educated people. My maid gets 15,000 rupees. The average unskilled labor in Kerala today demands 800 to 1,000 rupees. That works out to about 25,000 rupees a month if he or she is employed every day. Then the question is, who needs education in Kerala? What do we go to offer? It is a complex interplay of high education, economic structure, and labor market dynamics. What happens in Kerala? Let us now look at the characteristics of higher education in Kerala. The first thing you might forgive me if I say this thing. Our universities compete with one another to attain high levels of mediocrity. Educational degrees given out by our universities have very limited skill value. There is a mismatch between the market requirements, the industry requirements, and the qualifications. For private investors, I found there is a poor understanding of the quality of education. Lots of private investors who invest in schools and colleges. And an important thing, excessive political and bureaucratic interference in education. Shady and murky student politics and campus violence. And lastly, one chief characteristic, poorly paid primary school teachers. That results in rudderless grounding in math and sciences. And let us remember that mathematics is a language of the universe. And primary school education is where formal education for a child starts. In their book, which is titled Kerala, 1956 to the present, Tirthankar Roy and Ravi Raman note that Kerala's higher education system is an abject failure. This has come from a very well-researched book by two well-known people. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the educational landscape which I wanted to present before you. That is the hidden reality in Kerala. Now, I have a story to tell you. About 15 years back, I was Secretary Higher Education, Government of Kerala. For a while during that period, I held the job of Vice Chancellor of Calicut University. As VC, my main job was signing degree certificates, because Calicut University had this stupid rule which said that the Vice Chancellor should personally sign all degree certificates. So every time I went to the VC's office, there would be thousands of degree certificates waiting for my signature that did not leave me any time for anything else, and it ensured that as VC I kept on signing. My second job was to chair the syndicate meetings. In Kerala, the university syndicates are full of political wannabes who generally shout at one another. The third job as VC was handling violent student protests and restlessness. Student restlessness, which is a problem in Kerala campuses. It's been there for long years, decades. Even now it is still there. Or shall we call it induced restlessness? I don't think it is spontaneous. Most of the time, I used to attend the VC's office with riot police, because in the politically charged atmosphere, you don't know what happens. And one day it got out of hand, and the student rioters pelted the stones at my office and broke the glass windows, and the police had to use force to chase them away. Is this the educational landscape, the educational ecosystem that we want for our sons and daughters, for our younger generation? I have a question to ask you. Vadis, where are you going? Where are we going? I think we all know the answers. We are going nowhere. There are times in history, in the history of Homo sapiens, where a handful of people separated in space and time played crucial roles that changed the face of humanity. Renaissance is one of those periods, 14th century to 17th century, a profound period of cultural, artistic, and intellectual revival and rebirth in Europe, marking the transition from Dark Ages to modernity, catapulting Europe into the forefront of modern civilization. The key characteristics of this period are humanism, cultural revival, and above all, scientific and intellectual innovations. Achievements. Masterpieces by Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael. Scientific inventions and discoveries by Nicholas Copernicus, Galileo Galilei, Johannes Kepler, Giordano Bruno, discovery of new trade routes and explorations by Marco Polo, Vasco da Gama, Ferdinand Magellan, Christopher Columbus, invention of the printing press by Gutenberg that disseminated information everywhere. These achievements transformed Europe. I think we need a renaissance in Kerala's education sector. Friends, for that renaissance to happen, we need to define what we mean by education. What is the objective of education? Martin Luther King once said, the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and critically. Education means different things to different people. I need not elaborate. All of you have got your own views. To me, it is the objective function. The objective function of education should be the removal of ignorance, the eradication of ignorance, and the development of a scientific mind, the development of an inquiring mind. I would like to propose this as a sustainable development goal. And what do we need to do? To eradicate ignorance, we need to not stop questioning. We need evidence-based learning. Unfortunately, there are many political, social, business, and religious organizations which are actively involved in ensuring that people remain at a certain level of mediocrity. They do not encourage evidence-based learning. In fact, some of these agencies work overtime to enhance human stupidity. Let me give you some examples. If you take political parties, at the time of elections especially, they promise you the moon to garner votes. And these promises are routinely unfulfilled. But they keep promising, people keep voting. Example, a wannabe politician says that if you elect my party and if you elect me into power, then we will give one job to every family in the state. This is a routine promise I'm sure that a lot of us would have come across. Assuming that there are 1 crore families in a state, Kerala has got 80 lakh households, 1 crore families in a state, and assuming that each job would pay 20,000 rupees a month, it is 20,000 crores a month. And it is 2,40,000 crores a year. Now, where in the world that money is going to come from? Now, if somebody uses their cerebral cortex, takes a pencil and paper and do the math, then it would be easily obvious that this is a promise that can never happen. But people don't do that. People believe that. People follow the leaders. Let us take the case of business, industry. Corporates, business houses make great claims on the virtues of their products and services. Homo sapiens believe these claims, and part of their hard-earned earnings are transferred into these corporate business houses, kitty, only to be disappointed. Still, both sides keep on doing it. Let me give an example. Let me give you two examples. In 1975, Hindustan Lever launched a cream called Fair and Lovely that guaranteed that you will be made white. Your skin will be white if you use it. Now, millions of people bought Fair and Lovely. I don't know of a single case where anybody became white by using that cream. Now, after some time, some people saw through this deception game, and they accused HLL of promoting racism. So what did HLL do? They quietly renamed it as Glow and Lovely. Today, Glow and Lovely, the turnover is 4,000 crores. Take the case of Patanjali products. You're all aware of that. Patanjali's. They promise to provide permanent relief if you use their products for obesity, asthma, and blood pressure. Millions and millions of people bought their products till the Supreme Court intervened and said that permanent relief means a certain death. During the COVID epidemic, Patanjali introduced a product called Coronil, which claimed that it killed the coronavirus. It never killed any virus. Patanjali's current turnover is 45,000 crores. But no, wait. There is another group which will put all these politicians and corporate business houses on the back burner. They take the trophy. They take the Oscar for deception and disinformation. The religions and the religious groups, the faith healers, the miracle workers, the charlatans, everything is on the agenda, everything is on the offer list, including eternal life and a penthouse suite in heaven. Millions and millions and millions follow them blindly. Sometimes I wonder, what do these people all do? Don't they use their prefrontal cortex to go through this? How about their critical reasoning powers? Albert Einstein once said, doing the same thing over and again and expecting different results is a first-rate sign of insanity. Now, this behavior of us, Homo sapiens, in all these kind of scenarios which I described right now, which I am sure you can easily verify, it is being played out in front of you on a daily basis. It brings me to my mind the theory of stupidity. The theory of stupidity was propounded by Dietrich Bonhoeffer, a Christian Lutheran priest during World War II, during the Third Reich time. Bonhoeffer found that Germans, normally peace-loving, compassionate, kind, intellectual, intelligent people, why did they follow Hitler and the Nazi Party? Why did they allow 6 million Jews to be slaughtered and exterminated in the concentration camps? Didn't they know what was happening? After research, Bonhoeffer came to the conclusion that majority of humanity are stupid in their practical lives. For his research, Adolf Hitler executed him. Now, the stupidity theory argues that stupidity is more dangerous than evil. You might call a person evil, but a stupid person is more dangerous than evil person because stupidity is impervious to reason. You cannot reason with a person like that. It is a social phenomenon where people surrender their critical thinking powers to other people. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was complimented in his research by Carlo Cipolla of the Berkeley University with his research on the basic laws of human stupidity. Among other things, Professor Cipolla said that stupidity is independent of education, independent of status, independent of characteristics, and people always underestimate the number of stupid people. The only antidote is scientific inquiry, evidence-based learning. Sadly, scientific inquiry finds a place in our directive principles of our Constitution. However, not many practice it. Now, having said that, let me delve upon what is going to happen in future for the education sector. The future of education is poised for a significant transformation that would be influenced by technological advancements. The key trends would be technological advances and technological integration, including digital transformation, that would revolutionize the educational landscape. It would revolutionize educational delivery. With the help of artificial intelligence and AI, personalized learning environments would appear. This would enhance student engagement. This would bring in the concept of smart education, which would leverage technologies to create very adaptive learning environments. It is already happening. AI is in the picture. The second point is a shift towards acquiring skills and lifelong learning. Initially, I said that there is a mismatch between the market requirements and the qualifications achieved by people in our country. Now, this is changing. This would slowly change. It would take time. The government of India started the Ministry of Skill Development. Not that people would certainly say that they have not been up to the mark, etc., etc. However, it is a beginning. And the government of Kerala has followed suit. Thirdly, an emphasis on free speech and constructive discourse. Universities are open, universities are platforms for open debates. Now, here is the issue. The debates have to be constructive. You have to learn to disagree well. disagreeing well is a campaign and a concept which was being introduced by the University College in London. In our universities, students settle their scores in armed conflicts, not discourses, many a time. So I foresee that this is an area that would gain prominence. Number 4, policy influences in governance. As you all are aware, political decisions significantly impact on university governance and administration. What we face in Kerala is an overabundance of politics in university administrations. Now, this will continue. Politicians are not going to stop unless the civil society wakes up to this fact and decides that, yes, the civil society has a role to play in improving the environment, the ecosystem of higher education in our country and in our state. If not, all the gods of this universe put together will not be able to save higher education. Number 5, acknowledging innovation as the key to survival. If you don't innovate, you perish. The success of humanity during Renaissance was due to its scientific and intellectual innovations. We have to innovate or perish. For that, we have to use our critical reasoning power. Number 6, enhanced emphasis on fundamental basic research. As I initially pointed out, the one reason why American universities are the most sought after in the world and the highest ranked in the world is their performance and the basic research facilities which they provide, which produces Nobel Prize winners by the dozens. Now, our universities have to come up to that level that you provide facilities for basic research. We need to provide funding for that. We even need to get private funding for that. We cannot depend on government funding alone, because government funds are pulled from all sorts of directions, all sorts of forces act upon government. So finally, I would like to propose that a long-term solution, which might take generations, as it happened in the case of Renaissance, learning should be evidence-based. In Kerala, in India, we give emphasis on rote learning. When I studied logarithmic tables, I didn't know what it was for. Even today, I don't know why I studied logarithmic tables. I have no idea. A teacher at that time did not explain it to me, and we never dared to ask also. If teachers have to be good, they have to be trained for that purpose. So evidence-based learning is, I am putting forth as a sustainable development goal. Let me again quote Albert Einstein, because I keep quoting him because he was brilliant, he was genius. He was a man who questioned everything, and he changed the course of history, he changed the way we look at the universe. There are very few parallels to him in human history. He said that the important thing is not to stop questioning. Not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its reasons for existence. So, question everything. Do not blindly believe in anything. Seek evidence, seek data. Practice evidence-based learning. We have all heard about the old adage, truth shall make you free. I would rephrase it, evidence will make you free. And in evidence-based learning, we need a firm grounding in mathematics and sciences. There is no serious foundation in math and science in Kerala. For that, you need to start at the primary education level. For the higher education landscape to be what we want, you need to start at the primary education level. Primary teachers are paid rather low. I would suggest that raise the wages of primary teachers. Give them the equivalent of what a college lecturer gets in the beginning. Because formal education of your children, it starts in primary schools. There, if you don't spend your money, you will get nothing in the higher education scenario. If you give peanuts, you will get monkeys. Lastly, tackle the over-politicization of the education sector that leads to campus violence. Armed conflict in our colleges and universities is a commonplace thing. Student leaders nowadays routinely abuse teachers and principals. I have come across several videos captured by Kerala police on this. Some of them are real bad. The university syndicates, as I mentioned earlier, are nothing but a marketplace for shouting against one another. We need academicians, people of proven merit in university administration, in university syndicates. But then again, as I initially pointed out, political decisions have a lot of significant impact on university administration, and our politicization can only be stopped by an awareness and awakening of the civil society that is hitherto indifferent to the hidden reality of higher education, indifferent to the dark energies that is shaping our higher education sector. The fault lies not in our stars. The fault lies within us. So, I come back to my proposal. Let us start evidence-based learning. Be curious and stay curious. Let me end my speech with a quote from Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore, the first Indian to win a Nobel Prize, said that do not limit your child, do not limit a child to your own learning. for he or she was born in another time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to me. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer. Don't be hesitant towards asking questions. I am a big boy. I can handle it. Thank you. You can take. Sure.
I request you to be on stage, please.
Oh, sure, sure.
Is there anybody who would like to pose a question to this big boy here? Yes. Can we have the microphone passed over to the member in the audience? And I'll get one for you as well.
Hi, sir, over here.
Yes, sir.
My name is George. I'm the director of an alternate learning school. We are based in Trivandrum. It's called the Friend School.
A little louder, please.
Yeah, my name is George. I'm the director of an alternate learning school in Trivandrum called the Friend School. So I want to thank you for a wonderful, thought-provoking speech, very inspirational, in fact. The framework that you have proposed is something that I completely vouch for, and that is exactly what I'm trying to promote in my school. Now, what I want to ask you is, having spent so many years, including in the field of education, now, one thing that we do in our school is project-based learning, which is to promote inquiry-based learning, evidence-based learning. We do a lot of flip class where children do a lot of research on their own, bring in and talk about different perspectives. But the biggest challenge that we are facing is with the parents. The parents are still very stuck on with the age-old traditional system of education. They want to send their children to traditional schools. They still believe that CBSE, you go to a CBSE school where a 5,000 or 8,000 students study, that is where your child is going to get a job. And my day's job as a director is to convince every parent who comes to me to tell them why you need to look at education from a different perspective, which is what you spoke today. So how do you see this evolving from a parent's perspective? How can people like me who are trying to propagate what you said, how can I make my job more easier? What's a larger vision to the parents?
Well, that is a very good question, but I must confess that I have no ready-made answers for that. I would think that what you said is absolutely correct, because the initial learning process before a child reaches the primary school, it begins at home. So parents have certainly a big role in shaping the thought processes of their children. Now, how do we do this thing? I think the parents were indoctrinated. They were educated initially by their own parents, and their own parents by their own parents. It goes like that. Partially, it is in our genes, it's in our DNA, that this is how the education process should be, because it's been there for thousands and thousands of years. In fact, there is a book by Robert Sapolsky which discusses partially these issues. It's called Life Without Free Will, where Sapolsky says that whatever you do is a function of what your people did 100 years back, 1,000 years back. However, we need to break out of this shell. The only way I can figure out is by engagement, that we need to engage the parents. We need to tell them. Now, how do we tell them? Now, this is a serious thing. Perhaps what institutions can do is to propagate this concept. What they can do is that they can utilize the social media to some extent, because social media is a very powerful weapon. And despite the fact that they dish out a lot of nonsense on a daily basis, I still think that it is a forum which can actually contribute a lot to changing the attitudinal dispositions people have got. Now, engagement with the civil society is probably the only way these changes can happen. You need to come out of your mindset. You need to start or accept critical thinking. You need to learn to trust your cerebral cortex. Now, that's very important. Nowadays, people trust everything and everybody except their own brains. Point is, how do we do that? We can do that only through these kind of engagements. Right now, I don't see any other way. Discourses, engagements, discussions, using the social media and using your own institution as a platform to propagate these ideas. That is the best answer I can offer. There is no ready-made solution in these things. It may take perhaps generations for us to bring forth these changes. But we need to do that. Any other question?
So I'm afraid we might have to limit the question to that because we've run out of time. But thank you for the question.
She is the master of ceremony, so I agree to whatever she says.
Thank you for understanding, sir, and thank you for that keynote address, which was peppered with historical examples, stories, making it so engaging for us to understand that age-old point. Putting the focus right back on evidence learning. That was the crux of his speech. Thank you for doing that for us. And to present a token of our appreciation to Sri Tom Jose IAS, I'd like to bring on stage Dr. Chenraj Joychand, Chancellor of Jain University. He's also the founder, chairman of Jain Group, Dr. Chenraj Joychand. Let's welcome him on the stage with a loud round of applause. Welcome, sir. I request you to take the center stage. That's the Chancellor of Jain University, Dr. Chenraj Joychand, presenting a token of our appreciation to Sri Tom Jose IAS.